or at least I hoped it would. And I was
Yeah.
thinking, and I'm like, and my brother Alex is bemoaning the fact that he didn't think it was going to be that. I'm like, hey, Alex, they have a gay albino man as the villain. And he's like, that's right, they do have a gay albino man. That's fun to say, gay albino man. That's right, gay albino man. And it is, it's a gay albino man. But he comes in and yeah, he starts hitting on Bond. And I knew that they were going to have the gay sexual tension there, but I didn't know it was going to be like this. Because like
yeah.
I thought it was going to be a little bit more subtle, like the little quippy stuff. No.
He's like caressing Bond's thighs. His thighs! And you're seeing it, and it's just...
It's a first time for everything, and everything like that. And Bond's like, what makes you think it's my first time? And...
See, I saw that as Bond, like, actually losing his shit for the first time in a long time. That's kind of like a cover-up for him, like, I don't know what to do right now. I'm just gonna quit my way out.
Bond's response was perfect. In that, you know, it makes perfect sense, like, in the 60s, that Sean Connery would never said that, because in the 60s, sex is between a man and a woman. In our modern era, that understanding has shifted.
Yeah.
Whether you agree with it or not, it's shifted. And so it would make sense that Bond, being a sexual icon and using sex as a tool in so many of his missions, would know how to do that.
Yeah.
But so I had no problem with his response. It was just Javier Bardem was so rapey. It was so sick and twisted and disturbing. And so then he started talking about something else, and I'm like, God. But like walking out of the movie, I was talking to a friend of mine who didn't come to the movie afterwards, and I was talking about that scene, like, haha, and it's just like, did this scar you for life? Or like, no, and then I realized, yes, it did. Yes, it did. But yeah, so Javier Bardem, Film Brain Connect. I should stop comparing our review to Film Brains, but the comparison has been made between him and the Joker from The Dark Knight. Very different character, very different motivations. I can see where that connection comes from, though. Just in the way he does things, and the way his entire thing is like, to think about who you are and the monster you are. But with him, he's a lot. It's fascinating watching him, because the Bond villain thing is charming but evil.
Yeah.
He takes it to another level, where like when you first meet him, there's, as disturbing as he is and as terrifying as he is, there's almost a chance that he might be sane. Because he's talking like, M is in the wrong here, buddy, and you and I, we could be the better men. We could be the survivors. We could be the ones who are, just going out and doing missions on our own.
Yeah.
But no, he's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And then they go outside, and he starts having target practice against a girl he beat up recently. And then when they capture him, he's giggling, and he's like, constantly giggling and like, hee, I'm going to kill people. He's nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm scared.
Yeah. That parallel with the Joker, that hits me a little more at home a little bit, because now that I think about it, there are certain plot points that feel almost directly lifted from The Dark Knight. Like, oh, okay, he takes him into custody.
The Joker meant to be caught.
Expects them to do something, which, of course, a supervillain who has a brain on his shoulders, that makes them a supervillain, obviously. That was a redundant statement. I'm going to go on now. Like, they need to be able to plan ahead and things. And, of course, you have... And I think it was most impactful for me because the way they built up Q, like this prodigy, like this genius. And he starts hacking the system, and Bond's able to help him. It's like, oh, okay, so this guy, this Silva guy, who's like a master cyber terrorist, okay, he's got nothing. Then all of a sudden, their network's hacked, and I'm like... Oh, that's, wow, that's just, also, this is one instance I must mention where CGI in movies can be used correctly if used subtly.
Mm-hmm.
One of the instances of this is when you get to see what Silva's character actually looks like. The trick, the backstory of his character is that he was an agent in Hong Kong in the 80s, which then begs me to question how he got so good with computers if he was operating in that era. Wouldn't he be much more of a traditionalist like Bond? But, maybe he was a bit of a tech prodigy or whatever. And he's taken captive and expects MI6 to save him, but they do not. So he takes his cyanide capsule and then describes what it's like, which was very unnerving for me because I've seen videos of what cyanide does to bare skin and things. And then he takes out his teeth, which the whole time have been bothering me. Something about the teeth have been bothering me. I didn't realize it was because they were fake.
It's not just his teeth, though. It's his teeth and part of his skull.
Yeah. And he takes it out, and his, cheek collapses, and it's just... It's really hard to describe how grotesque looking it is, and it's not over the top like Harvey Dent in Dark Knight. It's actually unnerving because you could believe this could happen to someone, and it's kind of disgusting. Luckily, they only show it once, and then he's back to being, I'm sassy, gay, and I'm going to kill you, Bond. And
okay, so we are actually... I don't know how much time we have left, really, because of all the times we've had to stop and start, but we are approaching what I am guessing is the end of an hour, so we should probably start wrapping up, and which I know that we had a lot more we wanted to talk about, but just for the sake of time. So do you want to briefly, let's really briefly touch on, apart from the Bond franchise, because we have been talking about the Bond franchise a lot, do you think this is a good movie?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been trying to jab in there parts of the story that I like and uses of cinematography and things that works. The one sequence we didn't talk about because in the grand scheme it's just another step in the plot, but one of the most spellbinding things I've seen in movies recently is this one sequence where Bond has to sneak up on this guy in Shanghai, and it's in this business district with lots of neon lights and things.
Yeah. And
then, first there's this very harrowing sequence where he's trying to hold on to an elevator, which is kind of terrifying when you think about it. And then he sneaks up on him, and they fight, but the entire fight is framed in silhouette. And it looks like it's all one take, which is just awesome. It's incredible to behold.
Yeah.
And, this is, for me, the best filmed Bond movie I've ever seen. I think if I was going to go cinematography-wise, this one beats out pretty much all the other ones. Mm-hmm. The one thing that bothered me, and I was talking with another friend of mine who's a writer about this, the script seemed to be a bit telegraphed sometimes, where it's let's talk about the themes of the movie and try to make it sound like natural dialogue, but we don't have good enough writers to do that. Mm-hmm. Not to bash the writers, because all of them, I looked them up, they're all very good writers. Yeah. They've written a lot of good scripts, but there are moments where they would say something, I'm that's a theme of the movie, isn't it? I get that Bond's getting old, I get that he's out of place in this modern era, but there were certain ways they shoved that in, and I wasn't a big fan of that. And as my buddy Jordan says, maybe it's not the movie writing it that's bad. Maybe it's just your powers of observation are getting really good, and you can pick this sort of thing out. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to choose to take that interpretation because, some of the lines aside, I love the way the plot works. I love how simple it is when you boil it down. It's a revenge story, and that's one of the most essential types of... That's one of the three essential types of plot that exist. You have love story, revenge story, and I forget what the third is. That's a different discussion for a different day. I honestly wonder about it. It's I think as a Bond movie, like you said, it fits in well. It's got a rich history. If this was the first in a series, I think I could see it launching something in today's market.
Yeah.
Especially because it's just. I mean, I don't know how they get the level of talent they had for it if it was the first in a series, but yeah, it works pretty well for me. How about you?
I think as a movie, it is very difficult for me to bring separate it from the Bond films. But like going off of what you said, I think as far as having dialogue where they say themes of the movie, that I did notice that. But I was actually impressed with the way they did that because sadly that seems to be the trend in movies nowadays where we can't have things unsaid, we have to just say them. Specifically in again Doctor Who, in the classic series, when the Doctor felt something, you felt it because the actor was so obviously feeling it. He didn't have to say it; he just
Yeah.
was it. In the new series, they have to talk for pages upon pages of dialogue about what the Doctor is thinking or feeling at any given moment, and that kind of pisses me off. And Russell T Davies was very bad at this. Stephen Moffat did it, and for a while he did it a lot better. But now he's actually again starting to piss me off. In the most recent season, I'm sure you can probably figure out what I'm talking about. You've seen some of the episodes in the most recent season.